All right, let go. Let go. All right, this is Liberation Minded Media. And what we're going to do today, we're going to do a reaction video to one of the latest videos that Taharka put out. Somebody sent me this video. I thought it was hilarious. And it's hilarious because of this. What I'm going to do a reaction video. Then I'm going to show you some receipts. And I'm going to show you the hypocrisy and the cap behind everything this dude does. And it's so predictable. And I'm not doing this to try to convince some of you who roll with this dude, because I understand that many of the people that roll with him are actually bots and paid viewerships. I also understand that many, and this is proven, that follow this dude, they also have shady past of sexual indecencies, including rape. And I say this with receipts. I can show you receipts from people who follow him and who he supports and who are moderators and such on his channel, who actually have not been accused but convicted of rape and sexual assault. And I dare you to say that I'm lying. I dare any of y'all to say I'm lying, because I got the receipts. I got the receipts. I've been contacted indirectly from some of the victims. So don't play. Look, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to let you know something. And this is for those who actually think. So I know a lot of his followers, they don't think, and or they have such fucked up records and past, or so much just hate for the same people who he's hating because they have the same agenda, because they're either agents or they're just haters of seeing black people do well or making some type of progress. That's just really what it is. So I'm not talking to y'all. But for those of y'all who really don't know, I'm going to show you some things and I'm going to make a prediction. And this is something I said before. He is not going to sue anybody. He said he was going to sue me. He said he was going to sue the Research Ninja. He said that he was going to sue Sonetta. He said that he was going to sue Onslaught Multimedia 2 or DSP. He's not going to. The reason why is because he has no grounds to sue on. Anything about him being a registered sex offender is documented, and he signed the paperwork, and I'll show you that. I have the receipts. So first, let's go ahead and get into this. So I just want to let you know he's not going to. What he's going to do is he's going to try to raise money to go and file this suit, but he's not going to do any of that because he can't. Because he would have been sued Sonetta if that was the case. He would have been sued me and others. So I'm just going to show you this cap, and let's go ahead and just start with the video.
Is your brother coming at you one more again. Coming at you one more again to ask for your support. What we have here is another internet poser making crazy.
Is he talking about himself? Another internet poser? I think he is.
Accusations, and this accusation is centered around that I have been charged and convicted and I am a lifetime sex offender.
You're a documented sex offender.
Could you imagine if someone put that on?
See, never there did he say he has been charged and convicted. He didn't say that. He didn't say that in that video that he's showing, because I have a copy of that video on my playlist. Now, he didn't say that. However, if you know, you know. You can't be on a sex offense registry unless you were convicted. So it stands to reason that at one point you were convicted. Now, did you get the record expunged? Possibly. And I'm gonna break that down a little bit later. But yes, it's possible that the record got expunged, but at the time the document that was shown was produced, you were on that registry. Doesn't mean that you didn't get taken off the registry, like I've explained before, and I've showed you proof before that there are ways you can get off that registry. One, you could just stop registering because that's only a misdemeanor. Two, the time could elapse that you were supposed to be registered on that registry, meaning that if the time elapsed, then you're going to fall off the registry. So in 2016, he was on the registry. But if he was on the registry 5 years prior to that, then by now he would be off the registry. But it stands to reason that he was convicted because at one point he was on the registry. Also, of course, if you work with them folks, they'll help clear up your record a little bit so you could be more effective in whatever they have you doing. But we're going to get into all that with some more receipts. Just hold tight.
That's what we call it in the streets or in college. Put that on your jacket.
This guy is just goofy as fuck. That's what we call it in the streets or in college. What? Like, this dude just babbles and says anything. You know what I'm saying? It's funny, but it's you know what I'm saying? It's also goofy and very misleading, to say the least. Let's continue.
But could you imagine if that was attached to your name? The sad part about it is that I do a lot of work with children. The sad part is that I do a lot of work in the community, and this.
Okay, so he does work with the children. He does work in the community, which is very interesting. So I'm going to show you some receipts later. That's going to make you question if he should be doing work with the children. I'm going to show you some things a little bit later. Just hold tight. It's going to make you question if he should actually be doing work with the children. But anybody could pop up at one event, and this is obviously the same event, and take some pictures. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with being, you know what I'm saying, doing these type of things. But the irony and the hypocrisy behind it is that people who do way more work, way more beneficial work. So he popped up at some event. The people who actually put together these type of events and do things is the same ones that he's attacking every day. And keep in mind you, the people who he attacks, 90% of them, you don't hear anybody else attacking. You don't hear their community saying, hey, they're doing bad things in the community, they're detrimental. It's just him. And he always has a way of saying whatever people are doing isn't the right way to get things done. But he doesn't have a model, and he doesn't have any organizational efforts and receipts put forth saying that, hey, this is how we should do it. All he does is tear it down. He doesn't have any smoke for the police that kill us. He doesn't have any smoke for the Dylan Roofs and the other racist white folks that's been gunning us down. He has no smoke for that. He has no smoke for anything but our people. In fact, when a racist white person went to Buffalo and killed 10 of our people, he blamed the black conscious community for that, rather than blaming the actual person who went there, pulled the trigger, and murdered 10 black people, 6 of them being women. He had no compassion for that. He found that as he found a way to blame the Black Power organizations for that. But let's continue.
Could potentially tarnish my reputation and my name. And because of that, I have to pursue this legally. The thing is that I have to go all the way to California. I have to make sure.
Now comes the nigga explaining why he needs to raise this money. The thing is, I'm going to have to get some money. I need you guys to donate some money so that I can go and harass people and file a claim that I'm never really going to file.
Sure I have the proper security because we are dealing with one who is suspected to be among the lettered group of people that intend.
Now, I don't know what he means by the lettered group of people, if he's talking like FBI, CIA, whatever. But he's not suspected. Nobody suspects Tariq and Nasheed of being the ops. Like nobody suspects Tariq Nasheed of being the ops. Unlike Taharka Bey, Tariq Nasheed actually does what he says he's going to do when he raises money. But we'll get to that a little bit later too.
Are to shut us down. And because this is a fact, I must move in a more secure manner. Now, with that being said,
the only reason you really have to move in a secure manner is because you are a bitch ass nigga. That's the only reason. Only because you have attacked so many people who don't deserve it, who actually have people who back them in the streets for real because of the work. That's why you have to move with security. Like if you was attacking, I know plenty of people, if you were attacking me and you thought you were going to go to where I've done a lot of work in the community, yes, you better be secured. That's a fact. Because when you have the streets behind you, you can't just be talking reckless. You can't just talk reckless to cats who really have connections, who really have done things that have actually benefited people's lives, and think that no one is going to approach you about that. So of course you have to have security. See, when your street cred's good, because you haven't been doing fuckery in the streets or on the internet, then you can move without security. These are facts. But when you have a salty record, and when you've done nothing but attack real people who do real things, who have benefited their communities, of course there will be resistance, and you can't pop up without security. And in most cases you actually could, because you probably wouldn't get, you know what I'm saying, too much hands put on you or whatever. But if you're a bitch nigga who can't fight except for when it's women, and I'm gonna show you that later, then of course you're gonna be afraid and have to move with security.
Up the link to the PayPal. And the PayPal is all
Now
about
notice he's going PayPal and not GoFundMe, and I think he's going PayPal versus GoFundMe because GoFundMe is gonna make sure they check receipts and make sure that you're raising the money for what you say you're raising it for. When you're raising it for legal situations, they're really going to check documentation and make sure that that's what it is, and make sure you have follow through and accountability. So that's why I think he's going the PayPal route.
support in helping me get to California. But if there is a overflow that I can use, the next step would be to use that finance to research and find out who exactly is this guy. In other words, before 1999, the name of this person is really, really patchy. And I mean, like, who runs from what their mama named them, or who runs from a history?
See, now what he does is he tries to belittle or cause suspicion of Tariq Nasheed. That's what he's trying to do right now. Okay? This is a tactic that is used by our enemies every day to undermine those who are actually getting things done. Okay? But he wants to go into the past, and we're going to go into the past of Taharka as well.
To them that made them who they are. That should be suspect in itself. But because, you can't make nobody tell you who they were before a certain period, only thing that we can do is do the research. And Morse World TV is here to do the research. So after I handle the legalities of this situation, the next step is to hit the road and do the research. Hit all of the key points that make the research.
Now, here's what's interesting about this situation, because he said he's going to go sue Tariq Nasheed for making false claims, even though it's documented and signed by Taharka. Yet he's been trying to implicate Tariq Nasheed in a murder that happened, I think, in Detroit years ago, even though the quote-unquote receipts he showed was a totally different person of a total different age, and it wasn't him. So he's trying to implement him for murder, but then he's trying to sue Tariq, for showing actual paperwork documentation of what Taharka has done, which is ironic, it's cap is really what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, when this whole little back and forth started, Tariq Nasheed told him, hey, leave me alone, man. Just leave me alone. I warn you to leave me alone. And Taharka just refused to do so. Now that the heat is on, now he's going to resort to bitch-ass tactics, which is now I'm going to pretend I'm going to sue, or I'm going to threaten to sue, which he's not going to do. He is not going to sue. He has no grounds to sue. Even if he had his record expunged, he still can't sue based on documentation that is still true. He can't. But as much slander as he's put out, not just against Tariq Nasheed, but against many others, it is very hypocritical that now he's trying to sue, especially when he was told, like, yo, just leave me alone. It's all good. Leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? But he refused to do so. And now that the heat is on, now he's resorting to bitch nigga tactics.
And if you've been watching long enough, you know all the key points and all the key places that need to be looked at and researched. But I think it's of interest of the Morse World TV audience and those who are interested in the reparation process or the liberation process, whatever you choose to call liberation or you identify as liberation.
He's babbling. There's an actual definition. There's a definition for liberation. Like, I mean, and the fact that he can't really articulate this just lets you know how disconnected from the movement he really is, because his assignment is just to disrupt and cause confusion.
Then by all means, you
Babbling.
should
Just
pursue it in
babbling.
that manner.
Pure babbling.
However, if you are truly pursuing it, liberation or reparations, there will be opposition. And one of the main oppositions will be the
Well,
ones
that's a fact, because he is the opposition. He is the opposition. Like regardless if you agree with the tactic or the method that one is using to try to raise awareness to or gain momentum for reparations, any black man or woman in their right mind would not stand against those efforts. If anything, they would add on to those efforts in the way that they think would be more effective and efficient. Why would you shit on a movement that clearly the people want? Clearly it's actually causing some type of disruptance in the political realm, because of the last few years of reparations being bubbling on the underground has it been addressed in the Senate. It's been addressed in media. It's been addressed in politics by politicians, only because of the grassroots efforts. Why is he disrupting that? Why did he actually go to the reparations movement, see thousands of people in harmony with no problems, enjoying themselves, getting a good word, getting inspired, go there, pretend he's down with it, and then make videos afterwards condemning everything that went on and trying to undermine the efforts of those, and then saying that he's going to have his own efforts now. Now all of a sudden he's jumping on the deck of reparations. Now he has his own little reparations thing, which according to his track record probably won't get any traction. Remember, this is the same dude. He's raised money before for things that he has never materialized. And the irony you're going to see later on in this video. But he's raised money for a Moorish village, over $25,000. What did he do with that money? Well, coincidentally, after he raised that money, some back taxes that he owed for 10 years got paid off. We got receipts. We've already shown this. So no Moorish village after years of raising that money. Never produced it. What else? Raised money to get a van so that he can go and cover the brother Polite trial, who's on trial for molestation type of charges of a 14-year-old. I don't know if he's guilty or not, but that's what he's been charged for. Taharka Bey raised money to go cover that. And not only did he not go there to cover that, he hasn't even spoke on it since. Now you would think someone who claims to be trying to keep the morality in the black culture and in the conscious community, you would think out of all the people who he could be attacking, that would probably be public enemy number one for him to make sure that he airs out for those type of offenses. But he doesn't speak about them at all. In fact, we know that him and Brother Polite have been very chummy in the past. He's actually expressed adoration for Brother Polite, even after the allegations. And now he hasn't covered it not once. And he hasn't used the money he said he was going to use to go and investigate that and go cover that trial at all. But here he is again, raising money, yet again, for something else. And his track record is 0-3. Every time he says he's going to raise money, do something, he never fulfills, never materializes. Yet, he has smoke, condemnation, and suspicion for someone who has always delivered on what they've raised money for. I'm not a Tariq Nasheed fanboy, but I could respect the game. He raised money for that museum. He actually produced the museum. He actually purchased the museum, brick and mortar, tangible building for the museum, which he says will be open in February. I have no reason not to believe him because he delivers on what he says he's going to do. When he raised money for the different events that he did, the FBA conference, the reparations conference or whatever, they materialized. And no one who put money towards those things are complaining. It's just people who didn't go and or didn't put money forth that are complaining about what other people put money up for, that they're satisfied with what they got. He has produced tangible material in this Hidden Color series. his 1804 series, which I own all of them, and I've showed my children, and I've also shown the community several times, 1804 and some of the hidden colors. So he's producing things that are actually having positive results and keeping our master teachers relevant. He's actually adding on to the community. Yet the one who doesn't do anything in the community tangible, who doesn't actually materialize on what he says he raises money for, is actually pointing the finger. See, this is what I said before. This world is so fucked up right now that the fake are being seen as real and pointing fingers at the real and calling them fake. And even though overall on the grassroots people ain't going for it, it's really just goofy internet cats that's really going for it, and those who can't think for themselves. So if you can't think for yourself, or if you're so invested in Taharka Bay because you also have shady shit on your record, because you're also a janky operator, because you're also an agent, then this isn't for you. This is for those who can at least think for themselves, critically analyze, critically think, and then make decisions based on information. If that's you, stay tuned.
For those who may not particularly talk like you, look like you, walk like you, live in your neighborhood, so even concern themselves with this type of drama.
Nobody in the history of this planet ever got liberated through entertainers or athletes. Huh? We the only people that sit around and thinking athletes is a bunch of shit, man. And only black folks who ain't gonna do nothing think you gonna get something out of a goddamn entertainer. Hollywood ain't liberated us. Did you?
Therefore, we must break down and find out who's who. And that's why I'm here.
So I like how he tried to use Dick Gregory, an entertainer, comedian, beloved and respected, as a way to slight Tariq Nasheed for his efforts. You know what I'm saying? But in essence, what is Taharka Bay if not an entertainer? Isn't he a 50-year-old trying to still unite or ignite his rap career? Isn't he an entertainer? Isn't he a blogger? But he's telling you that he can lead you to liberation and reparations, but no one else. Cap.
I'm here to find out who's who. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've been breaking down who's who on social media, and it's been a success. Once we begin to question everyone that comes before us, claiming that they are leaders for us, then maybe we can do something better for us. Because as long as nobody questions them, there is no need to worry about if they're legitimate or not. You know what I mean? Because nobody questioned them.
Babble.
So if they're legitimate or not, that shouldn't come on the back end. That should become the priority of the conversation when someone jumps out there. For example, when you look at Tariq Nasheed, you look at him coming on the scene,
Bumba clap Babylon Bay.
Stereotypical idea of what a brother is in relation to women. So he comes out with this album.
Hold up, real quick. Here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna talk about Tariq Nasheed in relation to his relationship with women, right? We're gonna go to the past. This is what we're doing, Taharka Bay. We're going to the past to find out people's relationships with women. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's do it. This right here is a document that somebody sent to me. I don't do the best research, I ain't gonna lie, but I know people who do. Several people who do. And they throw me alley-oops, and this is one of the alley-oops. And this right here, this right here, nah, we're not gonna make light of it. This is some documentation from a few women who had to get protection orders for them and their children against Taharka Bay. So let's just read what the document says. This is page 10, right, of one of the documents. And here's what it says, because we're talking about the relationship with women, right? We're talking about how people relate with women, and we're going to compare some videos or some music that was made, or some, jokes, or a lifestyle of being a player. We're going to compare it to an actual abuser. Let's read. It says this right here. The respondent, speaking of Toronto Johnson Sr., has threatened me by saying that he will hurt me if we aren't together. So he's threatening to hurt women if they're not going to be with him. And if I be with someone else, he has come into my home through the window. So he's broken and entered into this woman's home because I wouldn't let him in the house. He tried to take my son from me by threatening to go to my mother's house. He verbally and mentally abuses me, my children, and myself. He verbally and mentally abuses her, the children. By cursing at me, threatening me, and shoving me in front of them, and by telling them he will hurt me if I get a new friend. I feel like he is a danger to all of us because he sneaks around my house and tries to kick in my door, and I know he has a criminal record. That's page 10. I want to see if I skipped anything before that. No? Okay. So that's page 10. We're not done. Unfortunately, there's more. These are the people that, they're getting a protection order for in this particular case. Let's keep scrolling. Because remember, we're talking about the past and relates to women and children. Remember, he's all about the children, right? He's threatening their mom in front of them. He's yelling at them. He's mentally and physically and emotionally abusing, right? Here's another one. On January 21st, 2002, Mr. Johnson had my children while I went away for the weekend. When I went to his apartment to pick my sons up, we began to argue regarding some videotapes that I had let him borrow. Mr. Johnson stated that if I didn't get my sons and leave, he would hit me in front of them. When I turned to get my youngest son's jacket, he punched me in the face and I fell. Upon my falling, he punched me again, kicked me, and proceeded to drag me out of his apartment. He's abusing, hitting women in front of children. Mental injury of a child right here, punching, kicking, shoving. This is what he's doing. But he's saying Tariq Nasheed is the bad guy because he made a video about women and being a player. Okay. Let's continue. These are all the people, again, children, that, she's getting the protection order for on behalf of because of his, abusiveness. Look at this. Abuse occurring over 9 years ago. So he was abusing for decades. This is him. The respondent entered my home against my will with a key that he was not supposed to have. I asked him to leave, which he refused. He said he wasn't going anywhere, and he would take my son if I kept mouthing. He is aware that I had a previous ex part or protection order, which couldn't be served due to him going to another county. So he's dipping and diving, running from accountability. The respondent has threatened me, kicked my door in, tried to choke me, tried to take my son against my will. That's kidnapping. And in the past, I am scared that if he keeps coming around, he will try something worse. Because we're talking about the past, right? So we're gonna go into people's past because we got to know people's past when they're in front of us, right? I mean, we can't just accept anyone into our fold being a leader or the people's sheik and trying to lead us to liberation, right? We have to go into the past to look at these things. We got to look at the record. We got to look at what we have here. So we could weigh someone who made some music videos, someone who wrote a book called The Mac or Mackin' Lessons versus someone who is actually beating women and children and beating women in front of children. This is documented. This is why I'm not worried about getting sued, because this is documented. This isn't me. This is the court records. There's a reason why court records are public, because the public has a right to know who they're around. Let's go again. Let's get some more. The respondent is very mental and emotionally abusive. He curses and cusses me out in front of my children. Now, here's the funny thing about that. He doesn't cuss on Morris Road TV. He makes a point to sell everyone the idea that, no, I don't curse, I don't cuss, I don't do none of that. I'm just such a morally upright person. I don't even use cuss words. But in his personal life, with his children, and look at, I got other documentations I could show you about the abuse against the children. I'm not going to show that on this one, but I could pull it up. It's even worse. But let's continue. So he curses and fusses, or he curses and cusses me out in front of the children. He says he doesn't have to leave, to go or leave my house. He is an abusive alcoholic who is in denial, and he has become violent with me and my property in front of my children. Remember, he's all about the children, right? Taking pictures with the children. Yeah, because obviously, whatever events he's going through, they don't know this side of him. They don't know about his record. So that's the danger that they're putting their children in, not knowing how this dude gets down. Okay? Let's see, in front of the children. Then says, it's nothing I can do to make him stop or leave. This is why I believe it is unsafe and unhealthy for this to continue in front of my 11-year-old son and 3-year-old. Okay. This is how the people feel. So like you don't have receipts of people saying that Tariq Nasheed violated them, but we do have receipts of people close to him. So if people close to him are saying this, imagine what people who maybe not so close that he may have violated would say, right? Here's another one. He has choked me in May of 2004. He has kicked in my door in 2005, and he has hit me in 2003 to 2004. He has threatened me every chance he drinks, every chance he is drunk. Okay. This is the dude that some of y'all are riding for, though, right? Sex offender and woman and children beater and abuser, not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally, right? This is the guy who's telling you who should be leading movements. This is the person that some of you guys are going to donate to so he could pretend that he's going to go do a lawsuit that he's never going to do. What else we got? More people. Let me see if we have anything else here. Any more statements? Yeah, I got receipts. This is what you call receipts, because this ain't what I made up. This is what, if anybody pulls up this case, they're going to see the exact same thing. Here we go. More receipts. This is actually from a different lady. Over the past 3 years, he has verbally, mentally, and physically abused me. Last night, while drunk or drinking, he threw dirty, soiled objects in my face several times. This morning, he threw soiled baby wipes in my face. So he threw used baby wipes in this woman's face. Woman, I believe, who passed away, R.I.P., that he'll get upset if somebody shows her picture, but when she was alive, this is what he was doing to her. Like the audacity of this dude acting like he has so much respect for her that, hey, you showed the picture, that's so disrespectful. You can't be showing a picture of my deceased baby's mother, but he was throwing soiled baby wipes in her face while she was alive. He punched me with his fist on the left side of my face. He threatens me, says he will bust my house and car windows, slice my tires, try to get me back for calling police or putting him out. Curses around my 2 children. One is his 16-month son. He says that he would hurt me if he was like he was in the past, a woman beater. He has in the past kicked my door in, tried to kick my television in, kicked a hole in the wall of my house, hit my child, which he claims was a mistake, but we have other documentation I can show you about him beating the fuck out of children. Yes, children. Okay? But he drinks a lot every night, and I don't want him to be in... I don't want it to be again in front of my children or threaten me, because he has been in jail several times in the past for hitting a female, and I am terrified something time he will really hurt me, like he said. This is court documentation of who this guy is. right? This isn't me making up shit. This isn't me just accusing. This is actually who he is. So let's get back to how great of a person this guy is, and how terrible Tariq Nasheed is for making Mac lessons.
Or I don't know what it is, some crazy type hip hop where he's doing nothing but bashing, disrespecting, and making a mockery out of the struggle that our people all face. You know, I mean, who makes a song
Speaking of bashing, yeah, he's bashing women's face and children.
called "Wash Your"? Like, who really does that? Like,
Now, in light of what you just seen, a song called "Wash Your Ass," like no one has to listen to this song. No one was forced to. He didn't like kick in someone's door and make them listen to the song. He didn't break through someone's window and make someone listen to the song, right? The audacity.
who makes a song
It's the audacity
talking
for
about
me.
welfare cheese? You know, as a parody
Terrible.
or whatever. I don't know, but where I come from, that just
Terrible.
wasn't me.
You know, because he's so moral. That's not music. That's not right. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that, making songs like that. But this is him. Also Tariq. That's Taharka Bey. You shouldn't be doing things like that. Also Taharka Bey. Choking. Threatening. Also Taharka Bey. You shouldn't be making songs like that. Who would make a song like that? Also Taharka Bey. Entering homes against will with the key that we're not supposed to have. Asking him to leave, refusing to, saying he's not going anywhere. He would take the sons if I keep whoop de whoop. He's aware of previous ex part, running away from stuff. Threatened kicking the door, tried choking, tried taking the son against the will. This is Taharka Bey. This is the same one that's telling you how terrible Tariq Nasheed is for making a song that he doesn't like. Yet he is beating women and children and women in front of children and breaking into homes and trying to kidnap and all that kind of shit, right? Look at this. Threatened, saying that he will hurt me if we aren't together and if I be with someone else. But anyway, let's get back to how terrible Tariq Nasheed is for making videos. Go ahead.
Oh, that was the music that we endorsed. One of the songs that I know that he was in probably '97, which also is really, really questionable.
Now keep in mind.
But I think it's of interest of the Morse Road, where he's doing nothing but bashing, disrespect.
Now keep in mind, he's going back to '97, right? We can go back to 2016, and I'm gonna show you some records from 2016 in a minute. 2016, Taharka Bey was still in his 40s, a grown ass man. The records I just showed you was from like 2005, 2006, or 7. Which, yeah, it was a little bit ago, but it's a lot more recent than 97.
And making a mockery out of makes a song talking about welfare cheese, you know, as a parody. Or the songs that I know that he was in probably '97, which also is really, really questionable, is "That's Just My Baby Daddy."
Ain't no problem. That ain't my baby. Look, when you need to get your finger out my face, I turn on your chicken head.
He was in that video, and so it
Terrible. I guess that's way worse than verbally and mentally abusing my children and myself, which is what's stated by his ex, and cursing at me and threatening me and shoving me in front of them and telling them that he will hurt me if I get a new friend. So he's telling the children, if your mom gets a new friend, that he will hurt them or hurt the mom. He's comparing that to a video. He's comparing a video to his record, which is even more recent than a stupid video. Okay? Cut it out. It's cap.
lends you to believe that there definitely was propaganda entered into the hip hop community to get us to, or rather introduce us to worthless music that controls the narrative of how our children think. Just my baby daddy. Wash your.
Right. How the children think, right? He's worried about how the children think. Let's go back. Let's go back. He has threatened me, shoving me on. Oh, he has threatened me by saying that he will hurt me if we're not together. Be with some blah blah blah. Where's the one that he says he's gonna threaten the children? Oh yeah, threaten me and shoving. Oh yeah, abusing children. So yelling at them and telling them. Now he's worried about what the children think, but he's telling them that he will hurt their mother if she gets a new friend. But he's worried about what the children are thinking, right? He is a danger to all of us because he speaks or because he sneaks around the house. He tried to kick my door in, and I know he has a criminal record. But he's worried about the children.
Like, come on, it's real obvious.
Yeah, like, come
now
on,
that you
come
look
on.
back at it.
Yeah,
but
it is
then
obvious when you
you
look
bring it
back
up
at
the
it. You're right.
speed to the 2000s, and the next thing you know, he's talking about he's a Mac, that he's a pimp, and he's writing this book, and he calling our sister.
What I didn't ever hear Tariq say is that it's okay to hit women or children. And he might say he's a Mac, that he can get women. Okay. So what's worse, macking, or that crooked ass picture of your leader that you have? No, never mind that. What's worse, macking or beating women and children and threatening the children that if their mom gets another lover that he's going to beat her? I'll let you guys decide.
And that Europeans are easier to get along with than our sisters. He's saying things like, you know, our sisters, the only way that
and you're saying things like, let's go back to the record. You're saying things like, you will hurt their mother if they get a new friend. That's the kind of stuff that you're saying to children. Okay. Make it make sense.
get reparations, that if it's a man in the house, like, just think about that for example.
Yeah, think about that.
If sisters have suffered,
now obviously,
I mean, quote unquote.
Now, obviously, Tariq has changed his position on that. You know what I'm saying? Because people evolve, right? People evolve from their positions on certain things. So, obviously, that has changed because I haven't heard him say that at all. But, you know, if we're going to hold that against, then what should we do about this right here, Taharka? What should we do with all this? Like I said, I have more. I'm going to show you some more, but I even have more that I'm not going to show you. But I have more.
Black women have suffered
Yes,
through the
black,
slave
you're right.
trade by the way of their hands.
Hold on. Black women have suffered because these black women were suffering. These black women right here were suffering at your hands. But you're capping like you're so concerned. These black women were suffering at your hands, and so were their children. But more about how Tariq's so terrible for some songs that he made. Go ahead.
Ancestors, and passed down through their bloodline.
Trigger.
He's saying that they should not be able to get it
He's good.
unless they have a man in the house.
He has some help now with his video.
As if their grandmother didn't work in the field. As if their aunties didn't work in the field. Don't make sense to me, but anyway. But the degradation of sisters under...
Hold up. The degradation of sisters. We got to just keep going back to the record then. We're talking about degrading sisters. We're talking about degradation of sisters. Right? Bashing. Right? We're talking about a detriment to community, women, and children. That's what we're talking about, right? Right, Taharka? That's what we're talking about right now. Okay. Well, let's talk about it. What do we have right here? What do we got here? Oh, the respondent is very mental and emotionally abusive. He curses and cusses me out in front of my children. He says that he doesn't have to go or leave my house. He is abusive alcoholic who is in denial, and he has become violent with me and my property in front of my children. Then says there's nothing I could do to make him stop and leave. Anyway, back to the degradation of women and stuff. Go ahead.
The tone of his voice was crazy during the time that he was planning to be a Mac and a pimp. Yet, the moment that he comes out with In Living Color, oh, I'm sorry, it is a joke, but the moment that he come out with Hidden Color, bygones be bygones, nobody looks back and say, well, this guy haven't even reconciled. Nobody looked back and said, have he recanted any of these things that he said? Nobody says that. People just start from the point where he makes hidden colors and he intermingle it with the MacBook, and then
Kind of like how you started at the point of when you made Morris World TV, which coincidentally was within 3 days of you catching your last case. But we'll talk about that later, though. Go ahead.
he totally crossed over to now being the face of the reparation, liberation, social media organizations, if that's what you want to call it, or social media cry for liberation. Now, let me tell you something. Most people that you see on social media is no more than I'm about to say it, is no more than B and B, bloggers and beggars. What they do is...
This is coming from somebody who opened up, showing the PayPal, begging for money to do something that he knows damn well he ain't going to do. But continue.
blog, and then they beg. But they don't
He's really telling on himself right now.
have anything substantial
There we
on
go.
the ground.
Ooh, nothing substantial on the ground. Okay, since the subject matter is Tariq Nasheed, well, he has something tangible on the ground, a brick and mortar called the FBA Museum. Pardon me if I got the name wrong, but you know what I'm saying. He raised money. He raised $1 million and then put up $1 million of his own to obtain an actual brick and mortar building. He raised money for different events that actually went through. He raised money for movies that he's actually produced and came out with and have been great sellers that people really appreciate.
All the years of blog.
But this is the same dude who has raised money several times for things that he has never materialized. He has a 0-3 record for materializing what he raises money for, that he blogs and begs for. He doesn't produce these things, but he has the audacity to point the finger at someone who has a flawless record of producing every time he says he's going to produce something. Every time he says he's going to do something, he does it. Matter of fact, the way he raised the money for the museum was in such a way that if he didn't reach the goal, everyone would get their money back. So in other words, if he didn't think it was going to be pulled off, everybody would get their money back. Not, I'm going to still keep your money even though it didn't happen. That's called transparency. This dude can't even go to GoFundMe to raise money because he's already been taken off of GoFundMe for the past bullshit that he tried to raise money for when he pulled those GoFundMe down very suspiciously and then never returned money, and then even berated those who asked for the money back because he didn't produce.
And bagging. In other words, they don't have a brick and mortar in order to facilitate any of the thoughts that they blog about. And nor do they.
So the audacity of that when everyone knows that he has bought a museum, a building that he's going to use for a museum, like everyone knows. It's not conjecture. It's not cap. It's actually being used. Even you have admitted that. So the only person who hasn't produced between you and Tariq Nasheed is you.
Money that they beg for and establish these things. So we have a bunch of bloggers and beggars. This is why I was looking at the reparation movement. I'm like, man, the reparations movement is even worse than what I've seen with the conscious community as it relates to 125th, polite, Sinetta,
Well,
et cetera, et cetera. It's even worse than.
let's talk about that though real quick. He said that the reparations movement is worse. Trying to obtain, this is what he's saying, trying to obtain compensation for what our ancestors went through is worse than the bickering and debates and things that went on Sonetta TV, which is interesting because when Sonetta TV was at its peak, I was around. I had a Block Talk show and I've interviewed almost everyone in the HOK. And during that time, Taharka Bey was a frequent visitor of 125th. With adoration towards the HOK, adoration towards Brother Polite, adoration towards everyone that he now throws under the bus, begging to get interviews, calling them his brothers, saying, hey, I don't care about what you think. If you think Polite's a monster, he's not a monster. And of course, Polite going through what he's going through, he's not even covering it, even though he raised money saying he was going to cover it. So this dude who infiltrated 105th, or what, excuse me, not 105th. I was thinking 105th and Park. That's in Harlem too. But 125th Street to beg to be a part of that. Since he was rejected, he's attacking them now. But he was up there, and there's receipts. He was up there begging for their acceptance, trying to get with them. So if he didn't have enough discernment to see through what he's calling them now, which is frauds, why would he have the discernment to do what he's doing now and to lead anyone towards anything, or to be a reliable source for what he's saying about people who no one else are saying these things, and people who actually produce tangibles? I'm not just speaking about Tariq Nasheed. A lot of the organizations and individuals that Taharka Bey has been bashing for years are upstanding people in their community, and their community's not going against them. We're talking about Sisters of the Underground, who actually rescues domestic violence victims and women that have been in sex trafficking situations, along with Pansock. He attacks both those organizations who have receipts for doing rescues. And of course he would bash them because they're rescuing those women from people like him.
That because the reparations movement, at least in the conscious community thing, there was this fake moral code that ultimately at the end became its demise, because none of them was, many of the big faces was never morally intact, and so they begin to cuss each other out. They begin to be so disrespectful that, hey, it just fell apart. And today, it seemed to be holding on by a weird little thread where everybody then dispersed. Now they're talking about magical crystals. They're talking about looking at you and healing. They're talking about standing in the air.
Okay, I can't take no more of this. This is a guy talking about morals right here. Registered sex offender. All right, registered sex offender is what it says. Registered / which means and/or lifetime sex offender. Yes. I didn't make this up. Remember, when I first came out with this document, Taharka Bey said that it was doctored, meaning that, you know, I dabbled on the computer, and, you know, him and his people were saying that I basically created this document. Then I said, well, hey, all you have to do is go to this case number and look it up. Now, let's be clear. This particular case isn't what put him on the registry. This case is just a case that reflects that at the time, 2016, when this case happened, he was on the registry. Doesn't mean he's on it now. But when this case that he caught for assault, so you know how he says how Tariq Nasheed bashes immigrants and all that kind of stuff. Well, let's look at Taharka Bey's record with immigrants, because this particular case is an assault too that he caught for assaulting a Mexican dude. And let's just look into this case, and let's just look at this paperwork and see what we can find and what it might mean. Okay. So this is from, trial date was 2017. So this isn't like a long time ago. This is when he was a grown ass man. Right? So what happened here? Let's just see. First things first, what you're going to see. Second degree assault. There's some interesting things on here. One of the most interesting things is right here. As you can see, the offender was before your honor and given 24-hour community service to be completed. Mr. Johnson has failed to contact the alternative sentence program within 5 business days. Therefore, he was mailed the intake appointment date of 11/28. The offender was interviewed and assigned 5 to the 5th Regiment Armory. I don't know what that means. That seems kind of, I don't know. Anyway, Mr. Johnson failed to report to the work site and has completed 0 out of 24 hours. As today's date, there has been no further contact with the offender, and the court-ordered due date has since expired. So in other words, he's not even doing what he was supposed to be doing, right? Did he get in trouble for that? We'll see. This is the case number that coincides with what I just showed you before. What else we got? This is him begging for leniency for not doing what he was supposed to do, right? And then he gets that leniency. So this is somebody who was already on probation, caught a case, didn't do any of the compliance that he was supposed to do, but let's see how this case turned out for him. And if you've ever been in any kind of court situations or know anyone who has, then you tell me if this makes sense. Failed to comply, right? Let me see what else we got here. Trying to take our time right here. I don't want to go. I don't want to skip anything that really you should see. So here we go. Check this out. Now this is very interesting right here. Trial summary. Assault, second degree. He pleaded not guilty, but he was found guilty. Sentenced to 6 months, all of it suspended. Probation of 1 year, unsupervised. Come on, man. Listen, you might have a cousin, a brother, an uncle, nephew, maybe yourself, who have been in legal situations. One thing you know is that when you plead not guilty, you don't take any of the plea offers, and you take it to trial and are found guilty, they throw the book at you. They usually max you out for that. If you plead not guilty, they make offers to you all the way up to trial. You don't take none of the offers. You go to trial and you're found guilty, and they give you a week, 6 months, and then suspend it all, so you get no jail time. Look at this, no fines. A year of probation, but it's unsupervised, so you ain't got to pee in a cup. You ain't got to check in with no probation officer. You ain't got to show them that you're working, nothing like that. Really. For an assault 2. Assault 1 is with a deadly weapon. So assault 2 is right under that. You're telling me that you pled not guilty, got found guilty in trial. You wasted all that court's time taking the trial, all those court resources, and they're not even going to give you a criminal fine? Stop it. Just the total court cost of $57? That's suspicious, to say the least, especially when we find out that this was the exact same time that he started Morse World TV. And we know what Morse World TV does. So that's interesting. And then there's something else that's going to say continued probation, meaning he was already on probation when all this happened and he gets no jail time. Probation is unsupervised. All you have to do is obey all laws in the peer court when notified to do so. So when they tell them to come to court, come to court. And have no contact with the victim. It's interesting. Very, very interesting that, 6 months suspended. So they gave him 6 months and then suspended all, 0 fines. 0 fines. Now, first of all, he didn't comply with all the stuff that he was supposed to do before the trial. He pled not guilty and got found guilty, and they're not giving him no fines, not even supervised probation, and they're giving him no jail time. You add that up. Since he's always talking about people being affiliated with those alphabet people, add that up. Tell me if you've ever seen anything like that happen. Tell me if that's ever happened to you, if you're watching this, or anyone that you know. Okay? What else we got? Let's get into the actual case of what actually happened. Now, this is the part that you guys have already seen before about being a registered sex offender. And then this is the second page of that, which was signed by the defendant. Meaning that he had a chance to go over this, and he checked it off that, yes, it is correct. It is correct, is what he's saying with his signature right here. He's saying that is right and exact. Everything on here is right and exact. That's what that signature means. That you've seen this. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? What else we got? Let's look a little bit further. Let's get into exactly what happened. Looks at this court finding in violation. He was already on probation when this happened. Probation continued. That means that he was already on probation when all this happened, and he still doesn't get any jail time for being found guilty of assault in the second degree. No jail time, no fines. Not even supervised probation? Okay, all right, I guess. Some miracles happen, I guess. Miracles happen. Now let's see what actually happened on this date in question that he... Because he's always talking about Tariq Nasheed is just disrespecting immigrants and hateful and all that stuff, right? Now I ain't blocking out shit because this is You know what I'm saying? This is public record. So here we go. So on 7/17/2016 at 15:39 hours, which is what, 3:39, Officer Benton was on a routine patrol in a marked vehicle. Jorge, we'll just call him Jorge A. Aparicio, came to Wilkins Police Precinct to file a report on a bias-related assault that occurred at 5900 Baltimore National Pike, blah, blah, blah. Victim Aparicio advised that he went to Lowe's to buy concrete. While standing in line, there was a black male wearing a black hat, a maroon shirt, black shorts, and white sneakers, approximately 5'9", 195. The black male was standing in front of the line talking to the cashier. The black male suspect, later identified through previous arrest records as defendant Toronto Antonio Johnson. So, in other words, he's known for having a record, but he still gets suspended. He has a lengthy criminal record, and I've even shown you all the stuff. I've shown you before. I ain't even gonna go into it on this one. I went into enough. But anyway, so later identified blah, blah, blah. He was not purchasing any items, just standing in line, talking for approximately 10 minutes. Finally, the female cashier, who victim Aparicio referred to as Yolanda, began scanning the victim's items while still talking to defendant Johnson. Victim Aparicio advised that the cashier was not paying attention to him and made several mistakes, charging him too much money for the items that he's purchased. So the victim then asked the cashier if she would please stop talking for 1 minute, pay attention to her job, and scan his items correctly, of course, because he's probably irritated. Defendant Johnson then began to yell at him and stated, "That's my sister. You can't talk to her like that, you fucking illegal." This is the same person that's, oh, Tariq Nasheed, he stopped being nice to, he's a hater of immigrants. Okay. Victim Aparicio told defendant Johnson that he does not have a problem with him. He just wanted the cashier to do her job correctly. Defendant Johnson then stated, "Go back to Mexico, you fucking illegal." This is the person who, that's what I'm saying. What he says is cap. Because all the stuff that he points fingers at are things that he does even worse. Victim Aparicio stated defendant Johnson then called him more racial slurs, but victim Aparicio does not remember what they were and did not recognize some of them. Victim Aparicio then told defendant Johnson that he was going to call the police if defendant Johnson kept yelling at him. Defendant Johnson then stated, "If you call the police, you better call an ambulance too, because I'm going to kill you, you fucking illegal." Victim Aparicio and defendant Johnson then left the store. Defendant Johnson got into a green Ford Expedition bearing MD registration, blah, blah, blah. Victim advised him that he was in fear of his safety, so he took a picture of the defendant Johnson's license plate just in case something would happen. Defendant Johnson saw victim Aparicio photograph his tag and then came out and yelled at him again. The victim then took a picture of defendant Johnson. The victim's friend, witness Morazan Olivia Francois, began videotaping at this time. The defendant Johnson then punched victim Aparicio in the face with a closed fist. The two then separated and left the location. The victim advised that he felt as though defendant Johnson assaulted him because defendant Johnson does not like Spanish people. The victim provided me, this is the officer speaking, with a clear photograph of the suspect and the video of victim Aparicio being assaulted. In the video, I observed the victim standing in front of defendant Johnson in a very non-aggressive manner. So he just stole on this little Mexican dude who was not being a threat. Because according to the police report in the video, he was standing in a very non-aggressive manner and non-threatening stance. Defendant Johnson was screaming at victim and then punched him in the face with a closed fist. Victim did not retaliate. A check of the registration through the MVA revealed that it was registered to a Sheila Renee Johnson. Check through various police database revealed that a known associate of Sheila Johnson is defendant Antonio Johnson. I was able to find a photograph of defendant Johnson through previous Maryland records. I observed that the arrest photograph of the defendant clearly matched the suspect photo provided by the victim. The victim advised that he waited to make a police report because was busy all week with work and also wanted to be sure that he was making the right decision. No visible injuries by the time he did it, so it was 9 days later. But the photographs of the injuries recently following it, of course, he had red markings, blah, blah, blah. So this is the dude. So like I said, this is the case that he caught in 2016 This isn't what put him on the registry. It's the same case. This is just proof that at the time he caught the case, he was registered as a sex offender. Not for this case, but just at the time he was registered because they did a record check. So when he says all that cap about how he's not on there, yeah, he's not on there anymore. And maybe he even got that expunged from his record. But this is proof that at that particular time, he was indeed a registered sex offender. So weigh all of that. Weigh all these receipts against what he's saying. And then just remember this. If he doesn't actually sue Tariq Nasheed, but he's raising money to do so, then you ask yourself who's the scammer. But I'm telling you right now, he's not going to, because he has no legs to stand on to sue. If anything, all the people who he has slandered without receipts have a way better leverage to sue than he has to sue. But this is just cap. That's facts. Liberation Minded Media from the Agent Taharka Bay Files. I'm out.